Thank you. Good evening. Welcome to our Municipal Council agenda for Wednesday, May 22nd, 2024. I'd like to call this meeting to order at this time and move along to the declaration of interest. Are there any declaration of interest at this time from members of council? Seeing none, I will move along to our Town of East Gwillimbury statement. The Town of East Gwillimbury recognizes and acknowledges the lands originally used and occupied by the First Peoples of the Williams Treaty, First Nations, and other Indigenous peoples. And on behalf of Council, I thank them for sharing this land. We also acknowledge the Chippewas of Georgina Island First Nation as East Gwillimbury's closest First Nation community and recognize the unique relationship the Chippewas have with the lands and the waters of this territory. They are the water protectors and environmental stewards of these lands, and we join them in these responsibilities. Item D is deputations. We do not have any deputations tonight. I will move to item E. Is presentations this evening. There are no presentations. I will move along to item F. Sorry, I'll move along to item F. And to the adoption of the Committee of the Whole Council recommendations from the meeting held on May the 7th. Could I have a mover and a seconder, please? Councillor Crone, Councillor Leahy, all those in favor? And that's carried. Be it resolved that Council adopt the Committee of the Whole recommendations from the meeting held on May 7th, 2024. Are there any questions? And item 2, to adopt the council minutes from the special meeting held on May the 7th, 2024, and the regular meeting held on May 7th, 2024. Could I have a mover and a seconder, please? Councillor Roy DeClemente and Councillor Crothers, all those in favor, and that's carried. Any questions? I'm down to item H, correspondence for consideration. There is none at this time. I will move to item I and 1, Development Services Memo and Extension to Part Lot Control Exemption Bylaw 2022-064 Averton Homes 19267 Center Street PLC 2403. And do we have a mover and a seconder for that, please?
I'm happy to move it, Madam Mayor, to table it. I do have a question about the item, but I'm happy to move it to table it.
Thank you. And seconded by Councillor Crone? Sure. Thank you. And you have a question?
Yeah, Madam Mayor, I'm just wondering, again, rookie councillor, and just kind of trying to learn about how this normally works. Like, I see the extension is for to extend for another 5 years that they have asked. Is that a normal thing? Is that common? Through you, Madam Mayor, to the appropriate staff member.
Go ahead, please.
Thank you, through you, Madam Mayor. The extension arguably could be deferred until such time as servicing becomes available, but I believe what they're trying to do is to align the exemption to with the timings, the updated timings that have been provided by the region for when the upgrades to the system in Mount Albert will be completed, so that then they would have servicing available. So it relates to that. To your point, Councillor Johns, they could certainly have opted to wait and then reapply in 5 years' time, but they've chosen to handle it this way.
Thank you.
Thank you. Could I have a...
Councillor Roy DeClemente.
Go ahead, please, Councillor Roy DeClemente.
Thank you. Not so rookie councillor, but still has a question. What are the updated timelines for completion? Because this area obviously is adjacent to some neighbors, and if we're extending the construction site for another 5 years, what's the new timeline?
Through you, Madam Mayor, the region has indicated 2029 for completion.
So in the past, we've asked developers to not necessarily extend those sorts of things because we don't want to be developing something that in the fullness of time, market conditions change, housing changes, the economic development angle changes, given that these are adjacent to existing homes, and given that it's also adjacent to a commercial site, it seems to me that we might not necessarily want to extend that. We might want to wait till the market actually is ready for these properties. Do you have thoughts on that?
Through you, Madam Mayor, I'm not really clear on what the difference would be. I guess
So,
yeah.
we've had subdivisions that aren't complete that were approved 20 or 30 years ago. That was a lesson that this community had to learn the hard way, and I don't necessarily want to impose that circumstance on this site.
Through you, Madam Mayor, I don't believe that this exemption, which really just allows for the sale of the townhouse units, would impact. The draft approvals exist, so we don't really have a mechanism to be able to claw back the draft approvals that have already been granted. In this instance, the timing is predicated by when the servicing will be made available by the region, so.
Go ahead, please.
Maybe I can ask a different question. What are the ramifications for not extending this approval?
Through you, Madam Mayor, it would just be incumbent upon the applicant to come back at such time as when they are ready to sell the lots and apply for the part lot control exemption at that time.
And would they be required to grade and sod and maintain that property for the next 7 years?
Certainly, through you, Madam Mayor, the property standards bylaw would be in effect. I don't know if that would extend to like imposing that, requiring it that it be sodded, for example, but in terms, it would certainly have to be maintain standards in accordance with the bylaw.
Thank you.
Councillor Crone, go ahead, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and through you to Ms. Bejan. Councillor Roy DeClemente was kind of going in the area I was going to. I think if we could just ask nicely to the developer if they could maybe tidy up the site. I have had some complaints about the construction mess that's there, and if I think as a show of good faith, if we come across with this extension, if they could do their best to tidy up the site, be good neighbors as well. I would really welcome to see some speed on the commercial side of it as well. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Call the vote.
Pardon?
Call the vote.
Moved by Councillor
Yep.
Crone, seconded by Councillor Leahy.
Or, no, I think it was John's.
Oh, I'm sorry,
Other way.
John's. Be it resolved that Development Services Memorandum dated May 22nd, 2024, entitled Extension to Part Lot Control Exemption Bylaw 2022-064 Averton Homes, Center Street be received. All those in favor? And that's carried. We are at bylaws at this point, and we have one bylaw, being a bylaw to exempt certain lands from the part lot control provision of the Planning Act pertaining to a portion of those lands within Plan of Subdivision File 19T93016, Part Block 90, on Plan 65M-3902, Town of East Gwillimbury, Averton Homes. Could I have a mover?
A recorded vote, please.
Thank you. Could I have a mover and a seconder, please? Thank you. Councillor Leahy. Seconder?
I'll second it, Madam Mayor.
Thank you.
Councillor Johns.
All those,
No, Madam Mayor, Councillor Roy DeClemente has requested a recorded vote.
yes.
Councillor Roy DeClemente, how do you vote?
No.
Councillor Carruthers, how do you vote? No. Councillor Crone, how do you vote?
No.
Councillor Foster, how do you vote?
No.
Mayor Haxon, how do you vote?
No.
Councillor Johns, how do you vote?
Yes.
And Councillor Leahy, how do you vote?
Yes.
Madam Mayor, the vote has failed.
Thank you. We will move down to item K. No, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm at K. There's no other business at this time. Item L is the confirming bylaw. Could I have a mover and a seconder, please? Councillor Carruthers, Councillor Johns, all those in favor? And that's carried. We have an adjournment moved by Councillor Roy DeClemente and Councillor Foster. And that is at 6:12. All those in favor? And that's carried.